Welcome to the channel. Before I get going on what I want to talk about, I just want to mention two things. First thing is we're setting up a forum. There's a new forum. If you look in the description, you'll see that there's a link to the forum. Sometimes on these videos, I'll raise interesting points, or at least I hope they're interesting, and you're talking about them in the comments, and you can see by the number of comments that people are fascinated by them. But sometimes people feel a bit uncomfortable writing something in the comments because people come from nowhere and they're very negative. You get the trolls and 77th Brigade and those people who are trying to undermine what might be just something that we're talking about. And a forum, a private forum that you just join and be part of and is open-minded with people who want to, they don't have to agree with everything and can have a difference of opinion. And as long as they're respectful, you can have a wonderful conversation, because it's only by having an open mind conversation and not trying to close people down that you might actually listen to somebody else's point of view and go, actually, I still disagree with you, but actually that bit I do agree with. And so that's where I think a forum would be quite good. We did try it with a sort of a replacement for Facebook. It didn't really work, and social media is a different thing. This is very much like the old-fashioned notice board forum that we used to have when the internet was young and fresh and not quite so corrupted. Anyway, the link is in the description. If you fancy having a look and discussing some of the things or adding your own things, then that's that. The second thing I wanted to add very quickly is that on the 23rd of this month, November, at the Attic Theatre in Southampton, Mark Byford, Sandy Adams and myself will be appearing. You can come along to the show. We're talking about food security and farming. Mark Byford will have been to the farmers' protest. That's happening tomorrow as I record this, which is Tuesday the 19th. And we'll be discussing how that went, what he thought was the benefits of doing that. As well as food security and what we can do. I will be looking at my sort of thoughts on farming and where we should go. And Sandy Adams has been looking and done a deep dive in the Agenda 2030 and will be bringing what the deep state would like to do. And between the three of us, we'll be having that discussion on stage. And of course, you can come and ask questions. That's at the Attic Theatre in Southampton. So do come along if you so wish. That's this Saturday coming. The link will be in the description, of course. So whilst I'm here, I wanted to talk about how we seem to be emphasising at this time many negatives. And I would like us to think, at least as a proposition, I would like us to sort of maybe think the other way round. So instead of looking at the things that we don't want, so taking the farming issue, for example, there's these yellow placards, and I used to have one here till I realised it was really very negative. It says, no farmers, no food. It's almost as if we're saying we want no farmers and we want no food, when actually what we should be saying is more farmers, more food, and more good food, more quality food. So instead of saying things like less supermarkets, less nutrient-free food and vitamin-deficient food, we perhaps should be saying more food hubs and more quality food. So we turn it round and look at it in a much more positive light. Now, whether you're one of these people who are spiritual and believe in like attracts like and manifestation, if you believe that, then that's obviously something that we would like to happen. If the universe works in that way for you, then putting out a positive bias rather than a negative bias has got to be good. But even if you don't subscribe to that, I think psychologically, if we have a positive bent on life, it keeps our vibrations high, makes our life much more fun. So although it's good to be aware that, yes, they're up there spraying the skies, but instead of worrying about that in the way that, oh no, look, they're spraying the skies, we don't want them to do that, we could turn that round and be saying things like, we want more blue skies, less cloudy ones and less sprayed ones, less chemicals in the other. In other words, more clean air than less polluted air. And the more we take that stance, I think that's something that most people can just not disagree with. They may have a problem with things like the so-called conspiracy theories that might say, oh, they're spraying the skies, or this fluoride is bad for you in the water. But if our stance is more clean water rather than less polluted water, you've got to get people on your wavelength to understand what that polluted water is. But if you're saying we want more clean water, more healthy food, people, who's going to disagree with that? Who's not going to agree with you and go, actually, yes, that is a thing. We want that. More farmers, more food, more healthy food. It all makes sense. More healthy policies, and more smaller government, less rules. Thanks very much. People, make it more positive, although less rules is actually the negative, is, better rules, nicer people. Do you know what I'm trying to say? Turning it round so that we are a lot more positive in our outlook rather than negative, because the negative stuff that we're holding on to is getting into our bodies. It's keeping us down. And as I say, if you believe in the manifestation, or like attracts like, those things are coming to us. The more that we can be upbeat, positive, keeping the vibrations high, the less these things will attack us. More freedom than, less shackles type thing is the things that we need to promote. That's what I think. More creativity, more families. One of the things that we don't promote enough, I think, in this country at the moment is the family. And the family unit. Now, whether that's mum and dad and 2 kids, whatever, or perhaps 2 same-sex, whatever, but more healthy families. Instead of worrying about the families being destroyed and all this weird, and I don't really understand it, all this woke agenda, going back to those things that mean something, more traditional stuff, more customs, more healthy families, more loving, more friendliness, more good neighbours. That's what we should be asking for if we're asking the universe, asking whomever, or demanding from the government or whatever, is the good stuff instead of, more clean air is a good thing. More health rather than, no radiation and none of this and none of that. I don't know whether that makes sense to you or whether that resonates with you. Maybe it's the sort of thing that you would discuss in a forum. So that there's a link to the forum in the description. Anyway, there we are. That's my message for the day. That's my thought, that we need more open-mindedness. There's a thing. Instead of us being closed minds and being in ghettos and things, more freedom in the countryside, more of the things we want and less of the things that we don't want. Thank you for listening.